Okay, I hope everyone is able to see my screen now.
Yes.
All right. I request everyone, please don't interrupt the presentation. And if in case the presentation has been interrupted, just let me know by telling me by turning on your mic because I cannot see if my presentation is blocked or not. All right. So let's get started with that said. Today's our topic is Python collection, or we can say Python containers or data containers. So basically, what are Python containers or what are containers itself? Yesterday we saw type of container that is called variable, and variable is a type of container which can store a single value. The value can be any type of, it can be of integer type, a string type, or a floating type, or even complex type, right? But a variable can store only one value. It can be of any type, but it can be only one single value can be stored inside one variable. If we have 10 values, we'll be requiring 10 different variables to store those values. To overcome this problem, to overcome this difficulty, we have containers called arrays. So if any one of you is familiar to the programming languages, we know arrays are kind of the data containers which store multiple data at same time. And in C or C++ or Java, we know that arrays store only one type of value. Though it be integer, it can be character. You can store 10 characters, or you can store 100 integers inside one single array. So what is happening over here is now you have only one single variable and you have multiple data stored into it. So Python take this one step further, and it allows us to have different type of data stored inside one single container. All right, so we'll just see with one example. Before that, I like to tell you that Python doesn't restrict itself to arrays. It takes a step further, and it introduces four different type of data containers, that are list, sets, dictionaries, and tuples. So what are these? We'll see one by one. Okay. So is everyone settled by now? Shall we start with our first data container? Okay, my voice is clear and everyone is able to see, right? Okay,
Yes.
okay, let's get started. Alright, with that said, let's get started with our first container, that is called list. A list is a collection which is ordered and changeable. In Python, lists are written inside a square bracket. Okay, so here we
Tell
have.
your screen is not visible.
Okay, someone else. Stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, it's now fine.
Okay, so list is a collection in which is ordered and changeable. In Python, lists are written inside a square bracket. So here we have an example of list. So this is called my list. I have named it as a variable. All the data containers also are variables. So the applicable rules that are for variable are also applicable to the names of a container, right? So this is my list, and I have stored some brand values inside this, that is Apple, Samsung, and Asus. So what's happening over here is I can store multiple data inside one single item, that is called my list. So here we can see that list can have indexing, slicing, negative indexing. Similarly, as we saw yesterday with strings, right? We said the strings are arrays. Similarly, lists are also a type of arrays. So what happening is over here is we can have indexing, slicing, and negative indexing, same as we had in our strings, right? Okay, so the next thing we can do with the list is we can append, remove, check, and change the value inside a list. And a list can be concatenated. So this was the theory about list, and we'll just jump into a command prompt and see the example of list itself. Fine. So a similar process as every day we do, we type in Python inside our console, and here we are inside the Python. Okay, so now we want to create a list. Okay, so I'll just give it called my list, and we saw an example of list, right? But those were the values of similar type, like everything was string inside it. But now if I have to store different kind of data, suppose an integer, suppose a string, and suppose a floating point number. Okay, so this is how I create a list inside a Python. I had three values, that is 10, a string proco, and a floating point number, that is 2.344. So all this is stored inside my list, that is my list called. And if now we print this variable, alright, so we are getting a list called the same value is been given out by the print statement, right? And again, if we treat this as an array, so similar things we can do. We can have indexing on it, that is print my list. Suppose I want the second element. Alright, so it will give me a floating point number. Again, remember that indexing in Python starts with 0. So this 10 value is at the position number 0, proco is at position number 1, and 2.344 is at position number 2, right? So if I give a position that is not inside my list, suppose if I give position number 4, obviously position number 4 is not inside our indexing. So this is going to give me an error called list index out of range. What's happening over here is that Python is traversing a list that is 0, 1, 2, and it's going to tell me that my list is going to end at second position, and if I try to retrieve my fourth position, Python is going to tell me that list index is out of range. You don't have this index in your list. Okay, next thing we can do with the list is similar to strings, that is we can find the length of our list, and with to do that, similar, we have len function as we had in string. Okay, if I do len of my list, I am going to get 3. Basically 3 is the number of elements that are stored inside my list. Okay, so this is how you get the length of a list. The next thing we can do with the list is slicing and negative indexing. As we saw yesterday, slicing and negative indexing, the same thing we can do inside a list. And let's have a better list called suppose numbers. Alright, so I am having this list right now called numbers, and again, as we saw yesterday, that Python is a dynamic language. I never have to tell Python that I am creating a list. I don't have to tell him that this list contains integer. All I have to do is I have to write a name, give it some value, and that's all. Your list is automatically created. You don't have to explicitly tell Python, yes, I want to create a list. I want to create a list containing integers or strings, right? It's all done dynamic, that is at runtime. Fine. So now we have our list called numbers, and we have stored suppose 8 numbers inside it, and if I hit enter, it's going to be stored. And now I want only few numbers from my list, that is suppose I want to retrieve from 30 to 60, right? 30, 40, 50, 60 I want to retrieve. Similarly, slicing we did yesterday, I am going to do print numbers, and I am going to slice my list. And from what index I want to slice? 0, 1, 2. 30 is at second position. So from 2, and I'm going to give range from 2 to 2, 3, 4, 5. And why 5? And I'm going to give you 6. Why 6? Because we know that in slicing, the range upper limit is going to be excluded. So if I give 5, my only output will be restricted to 40. If I give 6, my output will contain 50. Alright, so with that done, I did print number from 2 to 6, and just note that the 6th element will never be printed. Okay, so 30th was at second position, 40th was at third position, this is fourth position, and this is fifth position. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 are printed, and 6 is eliminated. So basically this is how slicing is done. We did slicing yesterday for strings, now we did slicing for lists. Okay, similar to that we saw negative indexing, and negative indexing also works for lists, and that is seen as negative numbers. Suppose negative, I want to retrieve 60. Okay, so it will be -1, -2, -3. If I set number of -3, I am going to get 60. Alright, so this is how we do negative indexing. And if I want to print a range in negative indexes, suppose I want to print 50 to 70 in negative, So I'll have to find the negative index of 50 first, that is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, that is minus 4. Alright, so I'll do print numbers of minus 4. Okay, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, and this is minus 3, this is minus 2, and this is minus 1. So if I did minus up to minus 1, I should get our value 50, 60, 70. Again, minus 1 is excluded because the upper limit is always excluded from the range. Alright, so basically this is how a list is created. So we'll have a quick review. See, here we created a list called numbers, that is numbers from 10 to 80. Then what we did is we sliced that using giving a range. Again, we tried to use negative indexes, and then we tried to slice using negative indexes. Always remember, list can have different type of data types, like we did here. My list, 10, proco, and a floating number. List can have multiple types of data stored inside it. Okay. So next thing with the list you can do is, as we said over here, right? Lists are changeable. Okay, so these two are very keywords that I have highlighted over here for concerning the list. Lists are ordered and changeable. So ordered we saw indexing, slicing, and all of those stuff that comes under ordered. Now let's see if we can change our list. Okay, so this is my list called numbers, and I want to add 90 and 100 also into my list. So there are two ways that you can do. What you can do is numbers dot append. So this is a property of list called append. What append does, it will add the value that you pass into it to the last position. If I do numbers dot append and 90, it's going to append. Now if I print numbers, fine. So what is happening over here, when I give numbers dot append anything, it's going to add that value to the last position of our list. Similarly, if I did numbers dot append, now I don't want to write 100 itself, I'll just put spelling. Okay, this should also work, because what's happening is numbers list will never have a specific data type. List can take all kind of data type, right? So if I do numbers dot append 100, it should work fine. So it will take 10, 20, 30, 40 till 90, and this 100 is considered as a string. Fine. So next thing I need to do is I want to append, if not 100, I want to 110.00. This is a floating number, right? So I can also append that, and if I print my numbers again, it's going to be stored as a floating number. So list will never have any restriction of what kind of data you are storing inside it. We have stored integers, we have stored a string, we have stored a floating point number. Fine. So this is called changeable list. What's happening over here is we are changing the list. First our list included only 8 elements. Then using the append feature, we appended 2 or 3 more values inside it. Alright. So what if I want to change a specific value? That suppose I don't want 50 over here, I want 55 over here. Fine. So what I'll do is we can again check the indexing thing. Okay. So indexing can be used to change the values. So what we'll do is we'll find the index. This index is 4. So we'll do numbers 4 equal to 55. So what's happening over here is I am telling Python that go to my list, take the 4th index and assign a value 55 to it in place of whatever is going on. Fine. So if I do this and if I try to print my numbers, I am going to see 50 is changed to 55. Okay. So this is how we take a number and change the value of a list. Suppose if I did a new property called numbers dot pop. Alright. So what pop gave me is it gave me the last value that was given to my list. Alright. Suppose this was my list 10, 20, 30, 40, 55. This was my our complete list, right? So what pop did is it took the last value, that is 110.0, and it eliminated that value from our list and returned it. So if I now print my numbers, I will never see that 110 is in my list. Why? Because it's been popped out. So pop function is used to remove value from the list. Similarly, as we take append, see here we did append, right? Append means adding a number to the end of the list. And what pop does, it will remove the element from the end of the list. So these are the two very important functions that are used in changeable links list, right? So I hope everything is clear till now. Anyone having any doubt? Okay. All right, so let's keep moving. Next thing we need to see is we saw append, we saw remove, we need to see now check. We saw change, right? Now we need to see this check function. So yesterday we saw check function for strings. Similarly, we can do check function for our list, right? So if I need to check if a particular value is present inside my list or not, I want to check if 70 is present inside my list or not. I'll just say is 70 in numbers. So it's going to return me a true value. Why? Because 70 is present inside this list, right? So if I give a number called 120 and say in numbers, obviously it's going to give us false because 120 is not present in numbers. So this is a very handy feature when you have a large number of lists and you have to check presence of one particular value. Suppose you have 10,000 records and you need to check if there is a particular record present inside your list or not. So you can use in function, that is check in function, sorry, and you can just give this syntax, the value in variable, in keyword, and then the name of your list. So this is how we do checking for a list. Okay, and the last function we need to see for list is called the concatenation. So if I have two lists, suppose let's create two lists, that is list 1 equal to having numbers 10, 20, 30, and let's create another list called list 2 equal to 40, 50 and 60. Alright, so now I have created two lists. First list is of integer type, second list is containing all the string types. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make a third list that will do list 1 plus list 2. So what's happening over here is list 1 and list 2 are adding and the result is stored in list 3. So now if we try to print list 3, this is going to give me 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So list 1 and list 2 are been concatenated. Doesn't matter, those two were of different types. It was storing integers, it was storing strings, but those two will be getting concatenated by the operator plus. Okay, so it doesn't matter in what order you concatenate. If I do directly print, suppose first list 2 plus list 1, this should also concatenate the two lists in the reverse order. So now 40, 50, 60 and 10, 20, 30. Alright, so this was the concatenation of the string, and I hope we have covered most of the features, that is indexing, slicing, negative indexing. We saw how to append, we saw how to pop, we saw the checking function, and we saw how to change value using the indexes. Alright, then we saw list can be concatenated. So I hope this was the basic for a list to understand. There are a lot of tons of features that you can do with the list, and I'll encourage you to go through the documentation of Python, but these were all the handy features that are really most important for the list. Alright, so this was all about list. We created a list first of all with different type of data. Then the list, we sliced the list over here. Then we saw negative indexing over here. Then we saw negative indexing slicing over here. Again, we saw how we can append. Okay, so we can append using list name dot append and then pass the value inside it. Similarly, we saw how we can pop. Pop gives the last value and it eliminates it from the list. Okay, next we saw how we can check if a particular value is present inside a list or not. and then we saw how we can concatenate. Concatenation is just adding one list to another. Fine. So is list clear to everyone? How to check in Visual Studio? Same Nikhil, same, just like this. Okay, so shall we move forward? Okay, let's do it. Okay, so next data structure that we are going to see is called tuple. So what basically tuple is? A tuple is a collection of ordered and unchangeable items. So what does unchangeable means? Once you create a tuple, you cannot change the value inside it. Okay, so in Python, tuples are basically made using round brackets. In list we use square brackets. For tuples we are going to use round brackets. Okay, a tuple can perform indexing, slicing and negative indexing just same as lists and strings, but the main feature is that we cannot add, remove or change the items inside a tuple. Okay, so if I create a tuple right here, I have a small example, that is my tuple which is having Apple, Samsung and Asus. But if I want to add suppose Xiaomi inside it, I will not be able to add new elements inside my tuple. Even if tomorrow I want to eliminate Asus from my tuple, I will not be able to do that. Once you create a tuple, it's going to be unchangeable. So that is the property of tuple, right? In list we have ordered and changeable, but tuple has some restrictions. And what's happening inside tuple? You have order, you will be able to do indexing, slicing, negative indexing, all those stuff using the ordered property, but you will never be able to change any value inside a tuple. Alright, so basically all the functions that are applicable to a list are applicable to tuple. Only changes are that you cannot change any value inside a tuple. Alright, so let's see a quick example for tuple itself. Okay, so again you don't have to tell Python that I want to create a tuple, you just have to create called my tuple similarly and give round brackets. Okay, in creation of a list where did we create? See, here we created a list, right? Here also we never told Python that we are creating a list. What we did is we give square brackets. Okay, and Python automatically comes to know that yes, square brackets means it is a list. Similarly, if we have round brackets, it is going to be a tuple. Okay, so let's create a tuple, similar tuple like 10 will have proco and then we'll have 3.44. Okay, so this is my tuple, and once I hit enter, this tuple is been stored inside the memory and now you cannot change it. Okay, another property is similar, that we can store multiple type of data inside one single tuple, and this we can have multiple types of data and n number of size of tuple. But only thing is once I hit enter, now this tuple is stored and I cannot change it. Let's see an example of that. If I do my tuple of what is the, suppose proco is at position 1, so it's going to give me proco. But if I try to change my tuple equal to something else called Python, this is going to tell me an error. Why? Because tuple objects do not support item assignment. Why is this error? Because we know that tuples are unchangeable. What I tried to did over here is that I tried to change the value that was assigned to first position to a new value, right? But we know that tuples are unchangeable. That's why we are running into an error telling that tuple object cannot support any item assignment. But similarly, if we go scroll up here and if we see that we try to change the numbers at the fourth position to 55 from 50, so this worked. Why? Because this was a list and list is changeable. But if we scroll down and if we go to tuple, we see that we cannot do this thing. Okay, so basically this is how tuple works. Tuple are mostly unchangeable, but tuple support indexing, right? We did my tuple of one value, then it gave us the value that was stored at first index. Okay, so let's create one tuple called tuple1 equal to, again round values. Let's have same example of numbers. I hope all those who are on your system is following along with this thing, right? So now I'm going to create a tuple that is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and if I hit enter, this tuple is saved. Okay, so now if we try to do slicing as we did in the list, so I want to slice from 20 to 50. Okay, so I'll do is print tuple 1, and from 20, that is from first index to suppose 2, 3, 4. So till fourth index I want to slice, so I'll give the range 1 to 5, and if I hit enter, you will be retrieving the value from 1 to 4. So similar to the list, this is how indexing work for tuple. And quick example for negative indexing, that is print tuple 1 of -3, right? So we retrieve 40. Why? Because this was -1, this was -2, this was -3, -3 was 40. So tuple is mostly similar to what we have a list, but the only difference in tuple and a list is that a list is changeable, but tuple will be never changed. Okay, so if we try to add something to our tuple, that is, let's say we tried the append property, right? Tuple1 dot append, and we have till 60, we'll try to append 70. Okay, so if I hit enter, again we have an error called tuple object have no attribute called append. Why is this a thing? Again we try to change our existing tuple, right? This was our existing tuple called 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, but we try to append something to this tuple and we are running into error. Similarly, if we try to pop something from a tuple1 dot pop, then again it should run into an error saying that tuple object has no attribute called pop. So this is the basic difference between list and a tuple, but all the remaining properties that are applicable to list are applicable to tuple. If I want to do length of my tuple, fine, so this is going to tell me how many values have been stored inside my tuple. Similarly, if I create another tuple called tuple2, again round brackets, always remember round brackets are used for tuple, and then I created 70, 80 and suppose 90.00 and 100.00. okay, so if I now create this tuple to a 70, 80, 90.0 and 100.0. okay, so this is my tuple, and if I hit enter, and now I need to concatenate this tuple 1 with tuple 2. So what I'll simply do is print tuple 1 and concatenate it with tuple 2. Alright, so what's happening over here is our both the tuples are be concatenated just as the list. Fine.
Hello.
So I hope tuples are being clear to everyone. It's been same as the list. All we have to do is remember that tuples are unchangeable. We cannot change the value inside it. Fine. Okay. So why, you might be thinking that why do we have these two different type of data type, right? We have list and we have tuple. Why can't we have one single data type that can do all? This basically depends upon the programmer itself or the type of problem statement that you are running. Suppose you are running into a problem statement where you have to store a username and his password, right? So username and password can be changed, right? It can be changed by the user himself. So what you will do is you will store this username and password inside a list, because in future you will have a requirement to change username or you will have a requirement to change your password. But if you have something more important data, like you have to store a Aadhaar card number, or you have to store his PAN card number, or you have to store his fingerprint credentials, right? So these are not never going to change, or even if someone tried to change this in future, suppose some third party or some intruder wants to change this data, so this will never happen. Why will this never happen? Because you are going to store that data inside a tuple. A tuple will never change its value, or you cannot add something to a tuple. Fine. So this basically depends upon what you want to do and what your application requires. Fine. So moving forward, we have a third data structure in Python that is called set. Okay, so what set basically is, A set is a collection which is unordered and unindexed. Now we are moving into more restricted form. First we have a very generic form that is called ordering and changeable. Then we had tuple that can be ordered but that cannot be changed. Now this is more restricted form, that is this is not ordered and this is not unindexed. Okay, so what's happening over here is a set which is unordered and unindexed. In Python, set can be written using curly braces. So you might see that every data structure is having its own form of representation. List is represented using square brackets, the tuple is represented using round brackets, and now the sets are being represented using curly braces. So here we have a similar example called my set, and you can notice the values are actually same inside are all examples, but only change happening over here are these opening and closing thing. Now if I tell Python yes, these values are stored inside curly braces, then you know that this is a set. Okay, the next thing you need to know about set is that you cannot access the items in a set by referring to an index. Okay, because we have declared here, right, it is unordered and unindexed, so you cannot basically do indexing inside a set. Since sets are unordered, the item has no index. Okay, but you can loop through this set of item using a for loop. What happening over here is that you cannot specifically index a one single item, but you can retrieve all the items at once using a for loop. We'll be seeing for loop in the next lectures, but just remember that you cannot access the set using indexes because indexes are basically not present inside a set. Okay, once a set is created, you cannot change the values. Again the tuple property comes into picture, that once you create a set, you cannot change the values. Okay, but a set gives you the freedom to add items using add property and remove items using remove property. So set operations like union and intersection are basically performed. Okay, this might seem a little confusing for you guys, but basically every data structure is having its unique properties, right? Some are changeable, some are non-changeable, some are indexed, some are not indexed, some can append, some cannot append. So it's all basically depending upon your application and your requirement, but you need to know all these things. You just have to remember. Okay, so what a set can do is a set cannot change the values. Okay, so you cannot change any particular value inside a set, but you can add new values or you can remove the existing values from your set. Okay, so if this is confusing, let's see an example. Okay, so let's see an example for it. I'll create again my set equal to, now I will be giving curly brackets. Curly brackets denote a set. Okay, so we'll be having same examples called 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. All right, so this is my set, and if I hit enter and if I did print statement, okay, so print statement is going to give us these values. And why are this in this way? Okay, I don't know why the order is being changed, but as we said that sets are basically unordered, right? So here we told is already been said that sets are unordered, so basically it doesn't matter what order comes into picture. So if I did print statement, so this is going to come into order in whichever random form. Fine. So again you can if I try to index something in my set, that is suppose did my set of second position, this is going to run into an error called sets object is not scriptable. Why is set object not scriptable? Because there are no indexes assigned to these values, right? So set object is not scriptable, so we cannot do indexing on our set. Similarly, if we try to give slicing or if we try to give a range, again we are going to run into same error saying that set object is not scriptable. Fine. So this property of list are not applicable to the property of set. Another thing we saw for a set is that we said that we cannot change the value of a particular element. So if we try to do that, I think we should get an error again. That is, if we say that my set of suppose second position, I want to change it to 60. Okay, so basically what's happening over here is, if I say my set of second value is equal to 60, that I want to change the second position to 60, then it will again give me the same error, that set object do not support item assignment. We saw this error in tuples, right? We saw similar kind of error in tuple when we try to assign something to a tuple. That is, if you try to change value of a tuple, so we ran into same error saying that tuple object do not support item assignment. Now we have the error saying that set object do not support item assignment. So this is basically the property of set, that you cannot change the existing item. Fine. So for now, if I do print my set, so this is basically my set, right? We said that we can add and remove items. So let's try to add something to our set. If we do set dot add, so this is a property, right? We set name dot add, and what do we have to add? Suppose I want to add 70 to my list, sorry, to my set. Okay, so if I print it again, see 70 is added to our list, but again it's not in any order, right? First of all, we had this order, now 70 is been added to the first location. If we try to add in a list, the elements are always added to the last position, right? But as we say that sets are unordered, it doesn't really matter that in whatever position this 70 goes. Now if we try to remove a particular item from a set, suppose if I say my set and I want to remove something, okay, so what do we have to remove? Suppose I want to remove 50, so I'll say remove 50, and if I do print again, then you might see that 50 is been removed from our set. Okay, so similarly if I give remove if I give remove and something, a value which is not even present inside my set, suppose now what 50 is not present in our list, right? Or 50 is not present in our set, so I'll say my set dot remove 50. This shall give me an error, that is key error. Why is this a key error? Key error means that whichever value you are passing is incorrect. So I was passing 50, right? So this 50 is obviously incorrect. Why is it incorrect? Because my set doesn't contain the value 50 which the Python is trying to remove. So we are running into key error, right? So this was all about sets. So basically what set does is, where did we start? Okay, so we first created a set called 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and when we printed the set was not in the order that we are generally supposed to see. Why is that thing? Because sets are basically unordered. Okay, the next thing we saw is that we cannot do indexing, and we cannot do slicing, and we cannot do assignment. Fine. So basically the property of lists are not applicable to sets, but one thing we can do is we can add new elements to our list, new elements to our set, and we can remove elements from our set. Another property that is very similar is we can have the length of our set. So similar thing we can do is we can do len, and then we can do my set. Alright, so this is going to give me the number of elements that are stored inside my set. Okay, so another property I would like to discuss over here for a set is that if I do my set dot add, and suppose our set is currently 70, 40, 10, 60, 20, 30, right? If I do add 20, and if I try to print this my set, see, basically what's happening over here is when I do my set dot add 20, this command ran itself, right? We didn't got any error, or we didn't got any key error, right? It just, what it did is it added 20 to our set, but when we did print my set, we are not getting the 20. we are basically just getting the same set that was before, right? This is the same set that was before. So what basically is happening over here is that set is a collection of discrete values. Set is a collection of unique values. So when I try to add something to my set which is already existing, that value will never be getting added again. Okay, so let's see one more example. If I do add, and like let's see, 60 is already present inside my set. If I do 60 again, alright, so my set dot add 60, and if I hit enter, it's not going to give me any error. Why? Because this is a valid command. My set dot add and a value is a valid command. We say that we can add new values to a set, so it's not going to give us any error. But if we do print my set, we are not going to see that a new 60 is added. Why a new 60 is not added? Because set is a collection of discrete and unique values. Alright, so basically what you can do is you can just give 60 as a whole number. Fine. Now if we do my set, we can see here 60 is added. But if you try to give the same value to the add command, it will just take it, but it will not add to the set because it's a discrete collection. Fine. So I hope everything is clear about sets itself. Anyone having any doubt in list, tuple or set, anything? Okay, you are asking same value when added is overwritten. It is not actually overwritten, it is just not even added to the list or added to the set. Alright, everyone following along? Anyone missed anything? Could you please show once again tuple concatenation? Alright, Sonali, let's have a tuple concatenation. Basically, concatenation is one and the same. For a string or for a list, for a tuple, or even for a set, you can concatenate. Oh, one thing I forgot to show you guys, that this last point, set operations like union and intersection can be performed given two sets. Fine. Like in statistics or mathematics, we have intersections, unions, or even we have joins or co-joins or outer joins or inner joins. All these statistical methods can be done using sets. Okay, so we'll not get deep inside statistics, just we'll have two sets. Let's have quickly set 1, that is equal to, again let's have simple numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Alright, we're having set 1 as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and let's have another set called starting from 20, 40, 60, 80. Okay, so now I'm having two sets called set 1 and set 2, and if I have to perform intersection, so the result of intersection is always the common elements inside the two sets, right? So the common element in set 1 and set 2 are 20 and 40. So when we do intersection, we should get 20 and 40 as a new set. Fine. So if I do print set 1 dot intersection set 2. Alright, everyone can see that we are getting the intersection of the two sets, that is 20 and 40, again in unordered form. It's not that first 20 is occurred, so we'll have 20, first 40 occurred, so we'll have 40. This is basically just unordered form. Similarly, we can have union, that is print set 1 dot union set 2. Alright, so when we do union, all the discrete values are collected. The values which are repeated are taken only once, right? So what will be the output when we do union? That is, we'll have 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80. The intersection is not repeated, right? And all the two sets are being joined together. So when we do set 1 dot union set 2, we should get that we'll have 10, we'll have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 and 80, right? So basically what we are doing here is we are doing set operations over our sets, that is intersection and union. You can also perform a complex operations that are statistical, that is outer join, inner join inside this, but we'll not see it right now, but you are free to explore those things. Okay, can we concat one set, one list, one tuple? Oh, Aishwarya, sorry, we cannot concatenate a tuple to a list, or a list to a tuple, or even set to anything. For concatenation, you should have same data type. You should concatenate list to a list, string to a string, tuple to a tuple. And for sets, we don't have concatenation. For sets, we have union and intersections. Fine. So we saw concatenation for list, tuple, and now we saw the intersection and union for sets. Okay, till now everyone clear everything? Okay, so let's go to our next data structure, that is called dictionary. So even in yesterday's lecture we talked a little about dictionary. So what dictionary basically is, a dictionary is a collection of unordered, changeable and indexed item. Okay, so in Python, dictionaries are written inside a curly braces and they have keys and values. Basically what a dictionary is, it is a collection of key value pair. You will have a key and you will have a value. Similarly, you will have a key and value. A small example for dictionary is shown over here. This is called this dict, and we have an example for a car. Okay, so this is a Ford Mustang from 1964, and what basically is it's happening over here is this is a key. Okay, this brand is a key and its value is Ford. Model is a key and its value is Mustang. Year is a key and its value is 1964. So you can have key and value inside a dictionary. So this is basically a key value pair. Everyone getting? A simple example can be your own portfolio, right? You can have your name and value, you can have your surname and value, you can have your mobile number, value, you can have your address and value. So what's happening over here is, for each value inside your dictionary you are assigning a key to it. So we are not now basically dependent on indices. In indexes we compulsory have to use the key like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to retrieve our value, but now we are taking a step forward and we are not dependent upon numeric indices. Now we are assigning our value its unique key. So every value should contain a key itself, and that is called a dictionary. Okay, so basically why the name dictionary came is, we'll have an English dictionary. So in English dictionaries also will have a element and will have its meaning, right? So basically this is the same thing. Suppose you go into a dictionary and search for a word, and that word will be associated to its meaning, right? So same thing is happening over here. Every key is associated to its value. Similarly, every value will have its unique key, and that's how you store a data inside a dictionary. Okay, so now if we see an example, a quick example for dictionary, let's again jump into, okay, fine. So I'll create my dict, and again we'll have curly braces. As the set have curly braces, dictionary will also have curly braces, but the key feature, the catching feature for a dictionary, or a distinguishing feature between dictionary and a set, is that a set will never have keys inside it. Okay, so how do we basically create a dictionary? We'll have a dictionary name equal to curly braces, then we'll write a key and a colon and assign a value to it. Suppose I write a key called name. Using colon I can assign the value to it. Fine. Now this is done. Even I can have a dictionary having single key value pair. Okay, suppose I want to add another key value pair, I'll use comma. So comma indicates that now this is a new key value pair. So if I did a key value pair saying location, okay, so if I do my location as Mumbai, fine. So now I have two key value pairs, that is a name and a location. Another we can have that is suppose my number, and I'll give some random number to it. Okay, so now what's happening over here is I can store any form of data. See, here I stored a string, here I stored an integer. So this is how a dictionary basically works. Dictionary will have any kind of data, but each data should contain a unique key associated to it. So now if I hit enter, so this dictionary is stored inside the location, and if I basically do print my dict, so it's going to give me again the key value pairs, that is name Taral, location Mumbai, and number is this random number. Fine. Now we can either use indexing, or if we don't have to use indexing, we can retrieve the data using the keys. So how can we do the keys, right? So if we do my dict is our dictionary name. Okay, sorry. My dict is our dictionary name. Okay, so if I want to retrieve my name, so what I'll provide inside the indexes is I won't provide 0, I will provide the key, and the key for this is, okay, so the key for retrieving my name is name. Okay, so if I hit this, I am going to get my name. So my dict of name is going to give me the value that is stored inside this key. Again, if we do print my dict of, say I want to retrieve a number, my number, so I'll just say number. Okay, and it is going to give me my number. So what's happening over here is that we are no longer dependent upon the numeric indices. Now we can give our unique and particular index, that is unique and particular key, to each value. If I had to store only Taral, Mumbai and this number inside a list, I'll have to associate this with 0th index, this with 1st index, and this with 2nd index. But now I can tell, yes, this is not just an index, this is my number, this is my location, and this is my name. And similar to that, I can retrieve it using the keys itself. Alright, so this was the basic functionality of a dictionary. And what all things you can do with dictionary is that you can access the element using the key in place of index. Another thing you can do is the value can be changed using the key. Okay, here we said that it is changeable, right? Here you can see the dictionary is changeable. So let's try to change my location. So if I do my dict of location, okay, so now basically I am at Mumbai. So if I try to change my location, that is my dict.location, and if I give it a new value, say Nasik, so what's happening right now is my location has been changed from Mumbai to Nasik. So now if I try to access my dict location, it's going to give me Nasik itself. And if I do print my dict, this is going to update my location from Mumbai to Nasik. Okay, so this is how you change a value inside a dictionary. Just the same, instead of giving indexes, particular index over here, what you can do is my dictionary, and which value you need to change, you need to change the location, right? So my dict location and give it a new value called Nasik. Fine, so this is how dictionaries are changeable. The next thing is that you can add or remove element by providing the key. Okay, so this is our dictionary right now, which is having name, location and number. Now if I even have to, suppose a new field can be, suppose my income. Okay, let's have a random income for me. So if I do my dict, and the key will be income. Okay, and now basically this key is not present inside our dictionary, right? Our dictionary only contains the keys called name, location and number. And if I hit enter, this is going to give me a key error. We have seen key error before. That key error basically when you passed incorrect value inside your index or inside your parameters. So now basically this my dict of income is not present, But if I do mydict income equal to some value, and let's have it a floating value called random thing 254.657. Okay, so suppose this is a random income I am going to add inside my dictionary, and if I hit enter, it's not going to throw me an error. And if I try to print my dictionary, you can see over here a income field is added, and it's not only just added income, it is added as a key value pair. Fine, a comma is been added at the end, and this key value pair is been added to the last position of a dictionary. So this is how basically you can add new values to your dictionary. Suppose let's try to add something else, and let's try to add my say last name. Okay, so if I try to add my dict cause last name, and last name, basically what you are doing here is you are passing the key. You are telling Python that I want a element with having key last name into my dictionary, and this value should be my last name, that is Pawar. Alright, so again if I try to print my dictionary, see, your name is there, location is there, number is there, income, and my last name is again added to the end of the dictionary. Fine. So basically this is all you can do. How you can remove is you need to do is mydict dot remove, and say we don't need income anymore. We are running into error saying that dict object do not have attribute called remove. Okay, so let's try popping. Okay, sorry, remove was not the thing we need to do. We need to income. Okay, so now what pop did is it removed the income from our list and it returned it. Okay, so now again if we do print mydict, now you will not see that income is present. First income was present, but we ran the pop function on income, that is mydict dot pop, and then we provide a key that which value basically we need to pop from our dictionary. So mydict dot pop income, we don't require income anymore on our dictionary, so mydict dot pop income. So it just not removed it from the dictionary itself, it also returned. See, if you want to see a last time your income, it is going to return you, and you can also store it inside some variable or something, but this pop function is going to return your income, and it is going to remove it completely with the key value pair. Not only the value, but also the key has been removed from your dictionary. Alright, is dictionary clear to everyone? Okay, so guys, these were the 4 very important data structures inside Python. Python collections, we saw why do we need collections, that we need to store multiple type of data and multiple number of data inside one single variable, then we use collections. First collection was list. You need to remember property for each and every data container, because every data container is unique. List is ordered and changeable. List can have indexing, slicing, negative indexing. You can do add, append, remove, check, or even concatenation with a list. Basically list is very generic and very flexible. The next thing we saw is tuple, and tuple are basically ordered but unchangeable. Once a tuple is created, you cannot again change the value of a existing tuple. So a tuple can also perform indexing, slicing, and negative indexing because it is ordered, but we cannot add, remove, or change value of items inside a tuple. Why? Because it is unchangeable. But a tuple can be concatenated. The next thing we saw is set. Sets are more restricted form that are unordered and unindexed. You cannot access the element using the indices, and you cannot basically just index the item inside a set. But once a set is created, you cannot change the value, but you can add a new element using the set.add function or a set.remove function. Alright, The next and very important thing to remember for a set is that set are collection of only unique and discrete items. You cannot have two elements having the same value inside a set. We tried to add, but those values are just not being added because it's a discrete collection. Fine. And then we can do union and intersection on a set. The next and last thing we saw was a dictionary, and dictionary is basically a collection of key value pair. Alright, so I think guys this is all you need to know for list, tuple, set and dictionary. But this is not the end. You need to practice these things yourself. You will be running into a lot of errors because everything will have its own unique property, and I encourage you to go forward and create list, set and tuple yourself. Always remember, lists are made with square brackets, tuples are made with round brackets and sets are made with curly braces. Okay, is everything clear? Anyone having any doubt? Okay, I think that was all for today, guys. Everyone should practice these things on their own because this is very important concept. I'll be sharing these command line things on the group itself, and you can refer them for your practice. But please keep practicing and do create as many as data structures as you can with very random values. Okay, so if you have any doubt, just post it on WhatsApp and Telegram channels, and we'll see you tomorrow in the next lecture. Thank you for joining. Good day. Bye.